All right, welcome to another episode of Tigers SRD here on motorcycles.com and, of course, at sportsradiodetroit.com. I'm Ray Hill. You can see alongside Miss Chris Brown and Uper. Spotify, iHeartMedia, Stitcher, and Google Play. And wanted to get a couple things out of the way. First and foremost, if you haven't signed up for a Patreon and you want to donate a couple bucks to the show, go to patreon.com/Tigers SRD and choose two tiers like the minor league one or our Tigers one for extra bonus content as we've been spilling out content. We went out yesterday to Midland to watch the Loons game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, wanted to thank everybody. We had a couple emails last week that were really cool. I forgot to mention our breakfast with Matt a few weeks ago when we were out at West Michigan. Matthew, because he's referred to as Matthew because it's the same way as my son. But we had an email all the way from Egypt, a gentleman that was a teacher out there who appreciated the podcast, and just want to thank him for that. That really made my weekend because it's kind of cool to see that I didn't use a Bengals joke, walk like an Egyptian right away, Chris, before when I saw that. Instead I used a Night Boat to Cairo reference by Madness from a punk band from the ska band from 1979 from England instead.
Nice.
So
well, I think if we keep hearing from that guy, his name is the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I was gonna say, or like, or that Steve Martin bit he used to do when he was the King
Tut?
Oh, King Tut, yeah. Well, we got Dingler up here right now with the bases loaded. I don't know if if this is going to be a video recording or just an audio of us, but this is interesting. He's already hit a home run, or no, he didn't hit a home run today. He's got a couple of doubles and a walk and a hit by pitch, I believe. But we saw him hit a home run last night. Yeah,
he's going to be coming up on I'm going to be mentioning him in some way, shape, or form here coming up.
Oh, outstanding! Right.
Yeah. So, is that gone?
Oh.
Is that gone?
That is gone. That is
it is grandson. All right, go, Chris. Go ahead and do your thing. Yep. Let's go do that.
Excuse me for a second.
Yep. So go ahead and do that. So, yeah, that was nice. Wow.
Oh, look at him. He's got the home run trot down already too.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah. So we'll wait for Chris to get back here in a second because.
West Michigan to Cooperstown. He's on the express. You can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, he's off to an incredible start. If he, you got to believe the call to the next level can't be much more than a month away if he keeps hitting at this pace.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I don't see him. There's no reason for him to be at this level anymore. He's already kind of proven it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they believe a timeline is. I mean, if they want to make him prove it for just a few more weeks, I can see it. I mean, there's no major rush, but it'll be cool to see him get to Double-A.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, he bombed that thing. I've never been to that park, obviously, but that looks long.
All right, that should be going up soon, and that was a bit of a poke, wasn't it? Good Lord.
Yeah, that was a shot.
Yep. I've never been there before, but that looked long just on video here. Wow.
Yeah, that's that's probably a good 400 feet. It's hard to tell there at night, but yeah, he's pretty good.
We were just talking that how much more he has to prove on his level.
What do you think? Another month if he keeps hitting this well?
Yeah, I assume they're trying to hold off until the draft to kind of to backfill some of these things. So you'll bump Dingler up to Double-A and bring Cooper Johnson up from Low A. And I feel like we'll probably see Gage Workman get moved up at some point soon. But yeah, I mean, it's he had that little lull there for a couple of weeks after we were out there in West Michigan watching him.
Oh, that was a foul. I thought
as opposed to my friend the uppercutter in Detroit, Mr. Rogers, the video looking at that swing, Dingler's swing looks fairly compact. Like there's some purpose to that thing. I like it.
Yeah, he's got he's going to run into some issues, I think, making contact at the higher levels a little bit, but he's got a good idea of the strike zone. He's got bat speed. He's got power, obviously. I think he's got a chance to be at least an average hitter. And yeah, man. And it was funny. We met some really nice guys who were sitting right behind us in Midland. I don't know if we want to get into it right now. Everybody was super nice. The guy in front of us introduced himself. He's like, "Hey, welcome to Midland." I was like,
"Well,
hey,
that was awesome." Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, my guy's Outman," and Josh Outman, I think his name is a center fielder or outfielder for the Loons. But yeah, they were all just they were all super nice, and we were really talking to these guys, and they're like. They seem to be pretty well in the know, but they thought, if Dingler can hit, if they can get his defense going, and I wanted to be like, well, actually, he's a terrific defender, but I didn't want to, didn't want to be one of those guys.
Actually, guy, yeah,
he's got a chance to be the total package, and that includes running, which is super rare. So, I don't want to get into too much actually, because Roger. You said we're going to be talking about it more in a second. So
all right, I probably edit a lot of this out. So where did we leave off? Because I totally forgot where we're going.
We were talking about the Pharaoh.
Thank you. Okay, so I remember now. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to thank. We had a bunch of, like I said, we had a really good interaction with Matthew. Met him up for breakfast in Grand Rapids, and I had probably one of the best breakfasts I've had in a long time. It's strange that they have this association with food, but I'm a chubby dude, and that just happens. And so, either way, it was really cool to interact with some people. So I want to thank everybody who's been coming out and reaching out the emails and the comments on Tiger Mind Report. It means a lot to us and a lot to me. And I don't know about you, Chris. I know you're pretty stoked about some of the comments we've been getting. So
I am happy that anybody listens to us at all. Honestly, it feels it's gratifying to have anybody say, "Hey, good show," or, and part of it's weird because I'm terrible at telling people I appreciate what they do or thanking people for helping me out, things like that. I never thank you, Raj, for getting me involved in all this stuff. I'm really bad at it, but it does feel nice to have people just even acknowledge our existence. Is pretty good considering where we've come from. So
yeah, no,
and I encourage more people to we're around. We're happy to meet with anybody or hang out with anybody. We just love baseball and we like talking about it. So if you want to do the same, come with us.
Yeah. And of course, if you want to email us at tigerssrd@gmail.com, that's really appreciated. Like I said, we had a gentleman that reached out, and so we had a couple questions from that. We had two questions from that from last week. We'll address a little later, but yeah, like I said, anybody that wants to sit down and talk baseball with us, it was those guys. And yeah, we might as well talk about those guys yesterday. Those guys. Those gentlemen we met down in Midland, and they were like, the gentleman just turned around behind you. He was with his wife. He was like, "Hey, he just welcome to Midland." It was really nice, and that was my second game there. And I was setting up a tripod because I was talking to James Chipman and Jacob Bose from Prospects Live and Motor City Bengals. Jacob is, and so they had a tripod when we were out in Grand Rapids, and he's like, "Why don't you just test it out?" And I bought one, and mine's got a level around it too. And it came in handy. I took some video for Prospects Live on Miguel Vargas and a couple of various other batters, including Dingler. And yeah, it was good to see the tripod in full effect, but it took me a while to get used to it. But then the guys behind us started talking about the Tigers, and one guy's like, "Oh, yeah, the Tigers are playing today." It's like, "No, they're off today." And so, "You sure?" But those, yeah, they were like good salt of their people. And so that was really cool experience.
Yeah, no, it was a fun, and we got a good game too. I mean, it was a close game. We saw some action. It was fun. We both got to see. We both recorded a Dingler's home run yesterday from different angles, which was kind of fun. I accidentally posted it on my personal account because I was, I've got access to 3 or 4 different Twitter accounts, and sometimes I jump back and forth, and I wanted to get it on there. So
it worked out. It actually worked out better that way.
I do think so. Yeah, I think you're right because we had 2 different angles and 2 different things. But no, I don't know. It's really fun going to games. How about that?
Yeah. And I also want to get a plug out of the way too. The Hook on Woodward Sports Network I'm going to put this in the podcast description. They had Jim Leyland on talking about the Imperfect game, which was the anniversary this week that came up. And so if you want to check that out, I'll put the YouTube link in our description. I thought it was pretty cool. So shout out to Tom Mazaway and Darren McCarty and Pilar from the Hook. And if you want to check that out, Jim Leyland, come on there and talk about the game.
Well, listen, all right. Sometimes a perfect game is not so perfect. Sometimes you have a perfect game and you don't feel so perfect.
He said on the podcast, by the way, he's going to be in Toledo next week.
Oh, really?
There might be a good chance I might run into him when we're out there next week. Yeah. So, but getting into Tiger news a little bit. So Derek Hill gets a call up with Victor Reyes hitting the IL. And I'll start with you, Uper, on this. This kind of cracked me up on social media. The Tigers Twitter, Facebook people were just been clamoring for Derek Hill to come up. And then you have some of the haters and haters and doubters out there about like, well, he's just gonna be a fourth outfielder. And I think for the most part, I think people know that, right, Uper? I don't think people are expecting this next coming of the next Willie Mays, right? I mean, am I missing something? No. Or
I would hope not. I would hope we can keep, after 7 years now in the Tigers system, they can keep expectations pretty much where they ought to be. He's going to come off the bench. He's going to add some speed, hopefully in some late game situations. Miguel Cabrera gets on base and they can let Derek Hill run for him. Maybe he can be the weak side of a platoon and bat against some lefties and see what he can do. The good news is he brings the defense. They can bring him in for late inning defense. He's useful. I mean, he has physical ability and some talent. He just probably not going to hit, even though he was hitting pretty nicely in Toledo. I kind of doubt he's turned a page in his career, and that's a long-term thing. But they don't, if they don't think Daz Cameron's quite ready for the big time yet, they want to see him do it for a while longer. It was cool to bring up Derek Hill. And if nothing else, he's a big defensive plus over what they've had out there.
Yeah. I think we've touched on it a couple times about how he would be a better player for a team that was better. Yeah. He'd get more of a chance. But, over the last month or so, the Tigers have been playing a lot of close games. They've been in a lot of games. They've been playing better. They've been a better team. They haven't been an absolute embarrassment like they were in April. And so you can kind of justify him up here now. And him, like you said, you maybe using him as the split of a platoon with Akil Baddoo might work out nicely. And with Daz Cameron, I assume that when they bring him up, I assume he's still kind of a priority prospect for them. And if and when they bring him up, it's to play every day. Yep. So that one would be like, hey, when Mazzara gets cut, or they trade Robbie Grossman, or who knows. But no, I mean, Hill has made some changes to his setup in the box. I don't, I'm always wary of saying like, yeah, he's a new hitter, but he's basically just has the bat right in front of him now, and holds it still. And it's almost like an old school, like Eric Davis, I feel like used to stand like that. And so maybe just, less pre-swing movement has helped him. But if he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't need to hit a ton. If he hits a little bit against lefties and he's out there playing defense late innings, it's fun. And yeah, I think you're right, Raj. I think most people understand that this is not, they're not calling up Mickey Mantle here.
Yeah, because I mean, there was some sort of like people were kind of like going, well, within a month you're going to hate Derek Hill, and I didn't understand that, but Derek Hill is what he is. He's been, yeah, you're right. He's been in the system since 2014. He was a first-round draft pick, and look, if he does the bare minimum of just providing solid defense, that's fine. I'm expecting a 25 to 30% strike rate at this point, but he is a different hitter than he was a couple of years ago, where he did change his swing mechanics to get more loft and swing more power. And his dad used to be like, his dad was a minor league player and has given him instruction a little bit. So those swing mechanics are going to help. The other thing that was came up in the rookie power rankings, which is the top 10 rookie power rankings on MLB.com that Sam Dykstra runs. Casey Mize makes his first appearance and comes in at number 7, I believe. That's number 8. And it was good to see Casey Mize on there. He's on the hill tonight against the cutter extraordinaire Lance Lynn, who just left the game. And if Lance Lynn, there was a overlay of how many different types of fastballs he throws, and it's impressive what he can do for his size. And Chris, I feel like he's gotten bigger last time we saw him.
He's a big fella. He carries it well. That's one of the things you have to love about pitchers. Is it, you could be a pitcher of just about any shape and size and get the job done. I don't know what it is about it. Like there's a lot of moving parts. You would think if once you get kind of big that you might strain the more muscles, but no, my man he's big. He throws fastballs and cutters and sinkers and.
Yeah, I tell you, I was watching this start. It's amazing. He has at least 4 different fastballs.
Yeah,
I mean, he was throwing a cutter at 89. He's got that 2-seamer around 92, and all of a sudden, boom! He blew a 4-seamer past somebody at 96 when they least expected it. So he's fun to watch. He was getting a little ticked off with the umpire tonight. He was going to squeeze a little bit here and there, but
yeah.
he looked good.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Casey Mize, I assume he's going to go back out for the 7th. He's only at 76 pitches, but if he didn't go, he would have another quality start. 6 innings, just 2 earned runs. He gave up a couple home runs early, but how many? I'm trying to look at how many quality starts in a row this would be for him. I guess he didn't get a quality start in his last outing because it was only 5 innings, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
But so that 5 quality starts before that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, 6 in a row before that. Yeah. And then the 1 5-inning outing with only 1 run allowed, and this one today, 6 innings and 2 runs. Like, yeah, it's kind of what we were hoping for. The strikeout numbers aren't insane. He's not dominating in a classic ace way, but he's sure pitching like an ace, and it's really nice to see.
He's looking really legit tonight. The 2 home runs, the first one, I got to say, it was one of those. It was all hitting ability by Moncada. It was a low outside curveball that he drove out to the opposite field. It was nothing about a hit pitch being hung. That was just some extraordinary hitting. The second home run was a bad pitch. He left one middle into Jake Lamb about thigh high, and he put it about 40 feet out. So he made one mistake tonight, but he's induced a lot of soft contact. He pitched up in the zone quite a bit. He blew fastballs, let her high past a bunch of people. And again, I keep harping on it, but he's done it periodically tonight. He's been pitching inside. He's dominated the inside of the plate. And even that home run he allowed to Lamb, they were trying to go in there again, and he let it tail out over the plate, and he got crushed. But I really like that he's dominating in there.
Nice.
Yeah, I was trying to. So Lance Lynn reminds me of former White Sox pitcher Lamar Hoyt. Yeah, who I think I believe he won the Cy Young in 1983. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had a chance, I was Googling this during when you guys were discussing it, just looking at Lance Lynn now with Lamar Hoyt with the White Sox 83-84, and it's a dead-on comparison. So
Tony La Russa probably calls him Lamar once in a while.
Yeah. Because I remind me of pitchers who have a kind of a gut when they pitch. I mean, there's the ever famous baseball card of Harry or former Tiger Gleaton.
Jerry Don Gleaton?
Yeah, the one where it looks like he has it looks like he's got his pants raised up to his belly.
Yeah.
Did he go into acting?
Jerry Don Gleaton?
Who am I thinking of?
Yeah, I'm not sure who you're thinking of about that, but
sorry, there's an actor with a name sort of like that. Oh well.
I was just thinking about pot-belly pitchers. I mean, if you're,
Rick Russell.
Rick Russell's a good one.
There's what about Terry Forster? Terry Forster, who David Letterman used to call him a fat tub of goo.
Yes. That guy threw hard. He threw upper 90s before it was cool.
Yeah, well, but yeah, I think Letterman. He came on Letterman at one point and was a good sport about it. But
that was fun. I was back when he was with the Braves, and there wasn't TV, there wasn't baseball on TV everywhere, so everybody watched the Braves. So it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I feel like there was a couple guys that would literally put their mitt on the gut as they're about to set and just kind of like lay it down in the gut a little bit. But yeah.
So you know who I was thinking of? I was thinking of Joe Don Baker, the actor.
Walking Tall.
Yeah, very, very familiar face.
Yes.
So sorry.
Yeah, but no, it's funny to me when or I see those kind of like bearded gut dudes, like just they're athletes though. They're not. I'm a bearded gut dude, but I'm not an athlete by any stretch of the imagination. I have to wear, if I don't have my insoles, I'm useless. So, but I digress. Anyway, so getting on to the show and the other news I wanted to get to really in terms of the Tigers is the winning month of May. They were over 500 for only the fourth time in the last 5 years or something like that. And that kind of stood out to me that here we are, Chris, and I mean, you've been listening to the show for a long time, for what, 4 years now, and we have only had. It didn't dawn on me that we've only had 4 winning months of baseball in 4 years. I mean, I've been doing the pod for longer when the Tigers were good, but I wasn't doing it every week. I was doing it once or twice a month or so when it was convenient. But now, as a center, I realize we've sat through a lot of bad baseball.
A lot of bad baseball, absolutely. Well, you know, it's interesting. Earlier this week, I think I forget where I talked about it. They looked so bad in April. I never thought I would put the 2 words Tigers and entertaining in the same sentence this year. And for the last few weeks, they've been fun to watch. And again, is it because we've become conditioned to so much bad baseball that signs of life is something we've really clutched onto? You know, that's possible. But I think really just as an objective baseball person, the brand of baseball the last 3-4 weeks has been much more palatable, and they've had a lot of close games, and it's been a good time.
Yeah, you know, I am tempted to give probably way too much credit to Hinch and his coaching staff and Feder, but I do think that they probably have a lot to do with it. I mean, I think I tend to dismiss kind of the impact of coaches, and I do think, you know, a lot of it also has to do with Casey Mize pitching well, as we said, and Tarek Skubal pitching well, and Spencer Turnbull pitching well. I mean, that's 3/5 year rotation, and they're all pitching well. But I think that has a lot to do with Chris Feder. I think that's probably fair to assume. I mean, these guys are all talented, but they're, you know, figuring things out. And so, yeah, and the offense is what kind of shocks me. I mean, I always thought the pitching talent was there, but they just seemed so dead on offense in April that it was kind of hard to picture these games where they're grinding out at bats all of a sudden and getting on base, and they're not hitting for much power. At least they didn't in the month, but that may, who knows, maybe that was just like a change in the approach of the coaches. Like, hey, you know what, guys, just forget it. Forget home runs. Stop trying to hit home runs. Let's just try to get on base. And if that worked, fine, that's awesome. But yeah,
they're stealing some bases.
Yeah,
I think they're in the top 10 in baseball now. In stolen bases, so they're trying to create some runs. And you know, no one has railed on the poor use of small ball or the ill-timed use of small ball than I have over the last decade. But with the lack of power on this team, you know, they even put a couple one-run strategies into play and helped them win a game there a couple weeks ago. I think that was in Seattle. I forget, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think the coaching staff does realize it, they can't rely on a 3-run home run. So they're putting some stuff in play.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things too where you see the bullpen actually perform a lot better, and the bullpen's been very consistent. Outside of maybe Daniel Norris has been struggling a little bit, but it's a good pattern to see that the Chris Feder thing we've talked about, which we've talked about numerous times. I feel like we've talked about this as a broken record, but it's the Akil Baddoo this evening too, as well, with that walk earlier, the approach. And you've talked about this too, Chris, in terms of him being a more and more. I'm going to say this. I'm probably say this more often about Akil Baddoo. He's going to be a cornerstone of the franchise, and I know that sounds like a bold thing to say, but Chris, your face says it all. But no,
who, my face does?
Yeah, you're like your eyes.
Oh no, well, sorry, the dog. The dog decided, as usual, he decided to take his 10 o'clock run around the basement with a squeaky ball.
Oh, that's
no, I mean, I agree with you about Baddoo. I think I still think he has star potential. Eventually he's going to have to hit against lefties, but we'll worry about that down the road when you don't have to worry about him. You know, like he's here to stay. And I think he's good, and I'm going to go chase this dog around real quick.
Yeah, no, and I think he's one of those things where the reason why I say that with such conviction is because you look at his stats, you look at, for being a guy who's been in low A, I mean, in his adjustments already in season, I can't think of a Tiger. I really can't think of a Tiger in the last, you and I have watched a lot of Tigers games in the last 20 years. That, I mean, even with Brandon Bosch, for example, when they figured out Brandon Bosch, he was done.
Yeah.
Same thing with Chris Shelton, he was done. Meanwhile, Baddoo is adjusted and has taken that walk percentage and just his at bats, his approach, I haven't seen anything like it in a long time. I mean, I've like I said, it's just like I can't unless you guys can think of an example of a Tiger who's made those in-season adjustments like that. I was just Chris. I was mentioning Brandon Bosch, and because everybody brings him up for whatever reason. Chris Shelton again because he was here for a season before the Rule 5 thing, so everybody forgets that selective history kind of thing. But I haven't seen a Tiger like that in a long, long time.
To me, I'm sorry. When he had that slump and he got down under 200 and he built himself back up to where he is now, that showed a lot because as you were talking about, he doesn't have a ton of minor league experience. And to come into the major leagues and to show that kind of ability to right the ship this early, pretty impressive. He's done nothing so far to really show that he's not going to be part of the future. There's only a few things you can nitpick with him right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably not the best defensive center fielder. I think he still is a little bit raw in terms of his reads and his routes. He's got the speed, but I don't know if he gets a great first step, and he doesn't have a huge arm. But like you say, yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I posted or I tweeted it the other day. Like his weighted runs created plus is among the best ever for a Rule 5 pick in the last, at least in the last 21 years since 2000. It's right behind Josh Hamilton, who was kind of a special case as the former #1 overall pick. So, yeah, and like I don't know necessarily that's going to last, but Roger, I think I heard you talking about basically his approach is just remarkable, and it kind of lends credence to the idea I've always thought that, and I'm certainly not the only one who thinks that, but that like you can't really change your approach that much. Like guys don't just suddenly figure out how to walk and stop striking out. It's almost like, I don't know if it's innate, but it's something that you seem to pick up very early on and it sticks with you. And so his idea of the strike zone and ability to take close pitches and work walks is that's the most useful trait he has right now. I mean, he's got the power and the speed, but taking those walks is going to get him through these slumps, I think. So yeah, it's been really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really ask for anything more than what he's doing right now. And as far as even in the outfield, he's got a little bit of mental hiccups, but again, those are few and far between. So
it's time for Rogelio and Chris to go inside the numbers.
All right, it is time for Inside the Numbers. And Uper, what is your number for today?
My numbers are 1,100 doubles and 4,000 singles. Those are the numbers. MLB as a whole, they're on track for 1,100 fewer doubles this year than were hit in 2019, and the 4,000 singles. MLB, if they keep going, they're on a record low pace for singles again. They'll be 4,000 singles short of where they were a decade ago. That's the extent of where the hitting is drying up and how much the pitching is dominating right now. There simply aren't any runners on base. There's the stolen base attempt rate's way down, which is because there's no one on first base. And also they're not trying to steal for second base because they can't hit a single and knock them in. You might as well wait for the home run. So, we've talked about it before. I know we chatted about it in Slack and so on. Something's going on, and it's all probably tied back to velocity. Changes have to come, and I think the new ball has been not quite a disaster because it's not like I've stopped watching baseball, but the new ball being lighter and deader at its core. Now there's going to be 500 less home runs by the All-Star break than there were in 2019. So the run scoring is just drying up, and we have these ERAs of 0.78. For people, and I'm not sure what it is going to be to solve it, but they need to find a way to get more runners on base, more singles, more doubles. All that stuff leads to more relay throws and more guys trying to take the extra base, just more excitement. I think it was really telling. A guy like Don Mattingly, a lifer in the game, called the game unwatchable this week.
Yeah.
That's really something to hear from a manager.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear from managers. I can relate to the baseball because I'm also deader at my core, although probably not lighter than I would like to be. No, it's. I know. We've discussed like just how do you fix this? Because the pitchers aren't getting any worse anytime soon. Like the pitchers are just making these advancements. Well, like they're lapping the hitters. And that's why I was joking about, just letting the hitters use bigger bats, like big Captain Caveman bats. But I don't know. No, it's that's kind of wild.
Just think about 1,100 doubles. I mean, that's a lot.
Yes, it is. It's a ton.
4,000 more singles 10 years ago than there will be this year. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and even to add to that too, I mean, if we're not gonna, this wasn't my inside number, but how many injuries there have been? And I remember we talked about this last year, Chris, that we expected this to happen with a 60-game schedule.
Yeah,
and I think it's just going to get worse. And it's not necessarily that, I'm sure some guys, kind of weren't in great shape after only playing 60 games, but it's just, taking time off and kind of exerting yourself and then trying to do too much because you're back and play baseball. And it's just, it's getting guys left and right. And fortunately, the Tigers have been largely spared, at least among, the key younger players. We lost Tehran for who knows how long, and Urania is with the little forearm thing, and Wilson Ramos.
He's supposed to come back Sunday, by the way.
Yeah,
they announced that today. Yeah,
and the Wilson Ramos and Grayson Griner things seem almost convenient. Like, you guys are hurt, aren't you? All right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
I think some teams are manipulating that 10-day IL too. I mean, there are more injuries. I'm not saying there's not, but I think at least some small percentage. I think some teams play around with that 10-day thing.
I thought that they had decided to go back to the 15-day IL, but maybe that's not until later.
I think it's 10.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I thought at one point they were like, the teams were doing it, so they were going to go back, and then that may have been decided shortly before the pandemic last year. But I'll look it up.
All right, Chris, what is your insider number this week?
So, as usual, I cheat and have two. They are 34.2 and 13. So that 34.2, that is Tarek Skubal's strikeout percentage in May.
Wow.
Which is tied for the fifth best of all starting pitchers in May. He's behind only Max Scherzer, Carlos Rodon, Kevin Gausman, and Zach Wheeler, and tied with Freddie Peralta. But it's kind of wild seeing the names he's ahead of. Shane Bieber, Trevor Bauer, Corey Kluber, Lucas Giolito, Garrett Cole. I mean, he struggled a lot in April and maybe even in early May, but over these last few starts, he seems to have figured some things out. And along those lines, that 13, that is his strikeouts per 9 in May. 13, which again, that's the third best in baseball in May, behind only Carlos Rodon and Max Scherzer. And remember, we made that comp last week, I think it was, when somebody was asking if Skubal reminds us of Verlander, and I said, no, he's more like Scherzer. He's a guy he's going to rack up these ridiculous strikeout totals, and he's going to have to learn along the way how to throw more innings.
Yeah.
And I think we started to see it in May, and it's exciting. We had, when we did our top prospects for MCB, I think we had Skubal edging out Mize because of that strikeout.
Right.
It was really, really close. I think I ended up being like the tying vote there because I think I had Mize fourth, like a jerk. But yeah, I mean, I still think that Skubal probably has more upside than Mize, but he might not necessarily have the ability to tone everything down and work deeper into games like it seems Mize might. So, but yeah, those are I thought those were pretty impressive numbers for a single month. Now let's see if we can keep it up.
Yeah, I like I said, the more the pitch mix he's definitely added, the better, and so it's good to see, and just I'm all for it. And then West Michigan, by the way, wins 12-1 this evening. So speaking of that, so my insider number this week is, I got two of them too, 339 and 27, which those numbers might change after this evening. So the 339 is the WOBA, the weighted OBA of Dillon Dingler, as he's in the top 20 of all of high A. He ranks, that makes him rank 10th, I believe it is. Yeah, it was ranked 10th. And Daniel Cabrera has 27 hits, which is tied for 27th all of A in all of high A. That's going into this evening, so that number is going to definitely change. But they're the only two Tigers among the prospect side that are ranked in the top in high A for anything like that. So if that's saying something about Cabrera and where Dingler's future is going to be soon, that's just saying something. But yeah, it's those two are the two prospects that are standing out among everybody in high A. So when I put that out, that's a pretty cool thing to see. And again, Dingler, watching him tonight and yesterday, it's just a matter of time.
Comps can be dangerous a little bit because he can be way off. But you guys have seen him. Where do you for Cabrera? What are you thinking? I mean, I've toyed around with the David DeJesus in my mind. Is he better than that? Or is he different? I don't know.
No, I mean, I think that's reasonable. He hasn't really stood out in the games that I saw him in person. He got really hot over the last couple of weeks. His only hit yesterday when we saw him was it was a little bit of a hard, I don't even know if I would call it a hard liner, but it was a liner down, or it's kind of a bounder down the left field line that he turned into a double. He's a faster runner than I think he gets credit for, and he really goes for it on the bases, and it wouldn't shock me if he's a guy who ends up stealing double-digit bags every year. I worry that maybe he might hit too many ground balls in the future, but he's been spraying the balls from gap to gap over the last couple of weeks, and I think, I don't expect him to be like a 20 home run guy, maybe 20 home runs, but topping out around there. He seems like he's more going to be like 30 double, 15 home run, 40 double maybe. And so we'll see.
That could be David DeJesus.
No, absolutely. I think that's a very apt comp. I always am a little bit wary of making the comps to major leaguers because David DeJesus was a solid big leaguer, and I think Cabrera still has some things he needs to clean up. It's the same, what a lot of hitters get flummoxed by. He'll get beat by fastballs up and breaking balls and change up slow and sequencing and stuff like that. But the bat to ball skills are pretty good. The bat speed's there. He's got a little bit of pop, and like I said, he's got more speed than you'd expect. He's been playing center field for him lately, which he looks viable out there. Although he did drop a pretty standard pop fly yesterday, although it was very windy. So that played into it, I think. But I think there's a chance that I would still probably keep like a fourth outfielder projection on him right now, just to kind of hedge my bets. But I think there's a chance that he's a solid everyday left fielder, right fielder.
Nice. I was gonna say in terms of for power purposes right now, until I see a little bit more, I would go with more of like a fourth outfielder, more of the Jesus is a good comparison to maybe Alex Gordon a little bit in a sense, like in terms of defensive or not as much of an arm on him than Gordon, but range and what have you. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about a comp as of yet, but I just wanted to see what the ball he hit yesterday, Chris, was pretty hard. I mean, he does make a distinctive sound.
He's been hitting the ball hard. I think in the ninth tonight, it looked like he hit a ball basically through the second baseman. But yeah, it's like I said, it seems more line drives, ground balls than high fly balls. But that's not something that hitters haven't been able to change. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think he's another guy who will probably move up in the next few weeks, or at least by mid-July, I would say probably at the latest by the draft.
Yeah, definitely, because I mean, with the Erie's situation right now in the outfield too, Erie's at some point when Riley Green makes his move either Toledo or up here, they're gonna have to do something with that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty excited for him, and I'm also pretty excited for what I saw in Winfield Perez last night hitting that home run right-handed. That was nice. And it was funny. I just text Mark. I'm like, oh, Winfield Perez looks struggling tonight, and then he just hits that bomb and he looked in shape. Chris, this is the first time I saw him in Lakeland, and I didn't get for whatever reason, maybe it was the netting or maybe it was just exhaustion, but he looks more in shape. Perez does.
Yeah, he and they kind of he and Jose King were batting back to back. I think Jose King was batting ninth and Perez was batting first, and they both look a little bit stronger and thicker than I remember.
Yeah,
like
he's a new person.
Yeah, I mean, Perez, he snuck that ball over the fence. It was like a 335-foot homer, but he becomes more viable. I think they're playing him mostly at second base now. Although I don't know, was he playing shortstop for West Michigan now? I didn't check.
Was he?
But
yeah, I don't think was he last night? No, I think King was last night.
I think King was, and King has looked solid at shortstop, and from what I've seen him play. So, but yeah, I don't know. It just makes him, having any amount of pop makes him slightly more interesting to me as a guy who's probably now a second baseman. He's going to need to work the gaps a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
The good.
Oh, that's good.
The bad.
Oh, that's bad.
And the ugly.
All right, it's time for the good, the bad, the ugly. Chris, what is your good, the bad, and ugly?
All right, I've got a distinct pitching flavor for all my things today. My good is Zach Wheeler, who was just tremendous in May. I mentioned him there as one of the guys with a higher strikeout rate than Skubal. Made 6 starts through 43 innings, 43 and a third, which is the most of anyone in baseball in May, and had a 2.08 ERA with 57 strikeouts against just 5 walks. It was good. Yeah, it was good for 2 WAR in May alone, which is something only 7 pitchers have reached 2 WAR. This is FWAR. Only 7 pitchers have reached that mark for the whole season, and he did it in May. And I don't want to say he's underrated because he did get like a 5-year, $120 million deal from the Phillies, but you don't hear his name kind of as often in that group of elite or near elite pitchers. And he strikes me as one of those guys who may end up being like a whole lot better in his 30s than he was in his 20s. And part of that is he was just injured a ton when he was in his 20s. But he seems to have figured things out, and it's like his stuff is ridiculous. It's like he's like DeGrom light. His fastball sits at 97, which is ridiculous. When you think of we're spoiled by someone like DeGrom, but yeah, 97 mile an hour fastball, and the whiff rate on his secondary stuff is great this year. 29% on his changeup, 33% on his slider, and 51% on his curve. So. Yeah, the Phillies made a pretty good investment there, I think. And I remember people saying like, hey, he might be the better free agent pitcher to sign over Strasburg. And it might look like that way. So my bad, unfortunately, is Matt Manning. And this is, we're dipping back down to the minors for a little bit, but he absolutely got bombed tonight in Memphis. So 3 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 7 earned runs, no walks. He throws the ball in the zone to his detriment, it seems, this year, and 5 strikeouts. His 7 earned runs is a new career high, breaking the 6 earned runs that he set in his last start. And his season ERA is now 9.23, with 11 home runs being the most of any pitcher in all of minor league baseball. I know it feels a little bit like a broken record for me to say this stuff, but we've talked about it a bunch, but I don't know if it's really sinking into people. But we talked about like a lot of what, a lot of people think of Manning as being like, he's going to be the best one. He's going to be the best one of these guys because he's got that prototypical frame, and it's like, the high octane fastball, curveball. He's like, Verlander, and the reality just doesn't seem to match up with the perception among prospect watchers. And I think a lot of what gets him ranked highly is we kind of assumed that he would continue improving the way he did in his first few years, but he really just seems to have plateaued. And that was, it was enough to dominate AA. But when you look at his stuff, and I encourage people to go to Prospects Live and read Jake Bowes, his what did he do, a live look or whatever you call him?
Yeah, live look was fantastic.
Yeah, and it's stuff we've talked about before, but the fastball. It's not, you look at him and we projected like, yeah, he'll be sitting mid-90s and touching 99 one day. And it's not that. He's 91, 95. He'll touch 96 or 97 occasionally, but it's still like a low to mid-90s fastball. And it doesn't have the, sort of pitch traits that everybody loves these days with the high spin and things like that. He does get down the mound really well, so he's got great extension, and he throws tons of strikes. And the curveball it'll flash as a plus pitch, but it's not consistently a plus pitch. And the main thing, there's no third pitch. We were told about the changeup, and he barely throws it. And then there was the slider / slurve type thing he was working on, and he barely throws that. And so now he's just got He's got these two offerings that are above average, probably overall, but not really plus. And this is what we've talked about before. I feel like I've mentioned it half a dozen times, but every time we saw him as a prospect come up against advanced hitters, be it the futures game or in spring training, he got touched up because his stuff just doesn't. I don't know. It's one of those weird things where his stuff is good enough to really dominate guys who aren't future big leaguers. I feel bad saying that. Like, we talk about Jacob Robson has some of the best offensive numbers in all of minor league baseball, but he's a minor leaguer. He's not going to be a major league player. And I'm not projecting Manning to be a career minor leaguer, but I'm just saying, like, he's one of those guys who his stuff, he needs to figure something out because his stuff is not good enough, I don't think, to consistently get out big leaguers. And I don't want to close the book on him by any means. As we talk about, the bad is when we talk about guys who can improve. And he did have that arm issue, so he didn't really get to pitch a ton in the summer camp or whatever. But it would not shock me now to see him. I don't think they can send him to Erie. I think that would be too, rough on the psyche. But they could probably pull a Wilson Ramos, Grayson Griner, and say, like, yeah, you got a left butt cheek strain. Why don't you head down to Lakeland and make 3 or 4 rehab starts and see if you can get your mind clear and come back up.
Pull him a Jedi mind trick, like your butt does hurt, your hamstring hurts.
Well, I mean, I think pitchers, all baseball players probably have some sort of like, my back is a little sore. You go, all right, we'll throw you to the DL or IL and we'll figure that out. And I could see that coming for him because, he's really getting bombed up. I mean, this is ugly, ugly stuff, unfortunately. And hopefully he can figure things out. Like I said, he still has all the other traits you want to see. He's got that body, the athleticism. He throws tons of strikes. It's just the stuff isn't nearly as good as it needs to be, I think, to get advanced hitters out. And go ahead.
Was that ugly?
No. Well, I mean, I did kind of get ugly there at the end. Sorry about that. No, my ugly is sticking with California pitchers. My ugly is Jack Flaherty. Now, so I don't normally complain about pitchers batting because, I hate it as much as everybody else. Sure, it's fun to see a pitcher hit a home run every now and then, but I just think it's dumb. And I say this, having grown up in a DH world with an American League team, it just doesn't make any sense to me to have pitchers hit. But I don't complain about it because everybody complains about it. And like, what else am I going to add? But come on, man. This is St. Louis's top young pitcher, one of the best young pitchers in all of baseball. He's still only 25, and he's now out for a significant amount of time because of an oblique injury he suffered while swinging a bat. And it's just like, I feel like if I were a National League manager or any manager really and playing in a National League park, I would just, unless it's somebody I just don't care about at all, I would just tell him, do not swing. You're either bunting, and even that scares me. Just, take your strikeout because it's probably going to happen anyway. And let's not hurt ourselves doing something that you don't normally do.
Why is it is it because they're just being cheap and they don't want to pay DL? Is that what it is? Because I don't understand why it doesn't make, there's no logical explanation why they got rid of it. It was a good thing last year. And
it's because the owners can use it as a negotiating chip because they know that they know the players want the DH, so they can say, all right, we'll give you this. What are you going to give us? That's the only reason.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
All right, Uper, what's your good, bad, ugly this week?
Oh, well, the good. Today I watched quite a bit of the Tampa Bay Rays and the Yankees. So a lot of it came out of that game. The Rays just looking better and better as the month is worn on here. At one point, I believe they were 17-19. This year, now they're sitting at 36-22, so they're on a 19-3 run. And you can see why. The pitching depth is incredible. The lineup, it's funky, it's weird, but they just don't have anybody who's weak in there. Everybody does something different. Even except for maybe Kiermaier, who's a little bit of a weak bat. But it's just such a fun team to watch. And then you look at what they have coming, and you look at their, Wander Franco is knocking on the door with 4 hit nights at AAA. They're probably just waiting for the Super 2 thing to wear out because that's how they roll. And I know a lot of people hate that, but that's just how it's going to be. And they're going to add him, and they have Vidal Brajun. They have pitching galore in their system. They've really built it right. And it's some people say they're bored watching Tampa because there are a lot of no names. I don't see that. I think it's a lot of fun to watch how they grind out wins and they find different ways to win on given nights. Just a fun ball club. Bad Yankees TV crew today. Brutal. Oh my goodness. There was a play where Kiermaier hit a little squibber and they were trying to tag him. The first baseman was trying to tag him. And he kind of veered out of the baseline just a hair. And they were saying that he was out of the runner's lane. And they were saying that he was out of the baseline, which is a non-term. There is no baseline. There's a base path. Big difference. And they had no clue the rules, which it's mind-boggling to me that they can sit there for 162 games every year plus spring training and have no clue of the rules. And this is including the ex-player sitting in the booth, Ken Singleton. So that was pretty embarrassing. Also, they were whining like crazy. I mean, the Tampa pitcher, Ryan Anderson, he got a bunch of calls on the outside corner that were maybe a couple inches off the plate here and there, but the ump was pretty steady. But boy, a couple of those were ill-timed for the Yankees, and they just harped on that. Even though they're down 7 runs, they were talking about 2 strike calls from the 3rd inning. You know, so it was kind of nauseating, but it was also kind of comical. So that was kind of bad. And then the ugly, I'm going to get just for me here. And I know I talk about my umpiring a lot, but I'm really a little bit worried about Sunday. It's going to be 93 and humid. I haven't done 4 games in a day since before the quarantine, 2019.
Jeez.
So,
is that 8 hours? 8+ hours?
That's going to be about 8 hours, yes.
Holy cow.
It's going to be hot. And I've started hydrating now. I've got all my yeah. I'm going to have ice packs ready to go and ice towels and everything I can think of to keep cool. But last year with the quarantine, I got my knee replaced. I took the year off. So I haven't done a long 8-hour shift like that in a long time, and it's going to be 93 and humid. So if you pray for me, if you just have good thoughts for me, I'd appreciate it.
What are the regulations on IV drips? You just have one right behind you?
That would be nice. I could just do the plate and have an IV there. It'd be perfect.
Oh yeah, have it hooked up the entire time. Oh, that's genius.
They could probably put it in a little backpack for me, and I could wear it
with some like a Camelback, yeah, or like get some outdoor air conditioning and an IV, and let's play 10.
but it's supposed to be a great tournament. There's a lot of highly ranked teams coming from some surrounding states like Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Minnesota.
Wow.
So it should be a good tournament. I got 2 quarterfinals, a semifinal, and a championship game on Sunday. So if I'm able to stay upright in the heat, it should be good baseball.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah. So definitely that's something that hopefully you're able to survive and keep us posted on. So my good this week is Tyler O'Neill. And it's like, here's the thing. I wanted the Tigers to go after him because I thought it'd be a good corner outfielder to have. But the Cardinals have this ability to have like these guys, and it was mentioned in our Discord channel the other night about how the Cardinals have Randy. I mean, they had Randy, the Tampa Bay Alzarena in there, and I believe also the Rangers the other
Adolis Garcia.
Yeah, Adolis Garcia was also a former Cardinal. Yep. So I mean, is there anything to Yariel Gonzalez, who's on a 15 game hitting streak for Toledo? Maybe not, but you never know, because with AAA numbers, you have to kind of be careful. Everybody gets caught up with that, and that's why there's a little more to the box score. But here's some of the numbers on Tyler O'Neill, which stand out to me. The 34% strikeout rate, or he's almost at 35%. It's 34.8, so might as well call it at 35%. You're like, oh, wow. I mean, why are you making this good? It's the fact that he's got a 22% barrel rate right now. 22% barrel rate. Ladies and gentlemen,
one out of every 4 balls, huh?
Yeah, the average right now, the MLB average right now is 14.3%, and he's got a 22% barrel rate. His exit velocity is up at 93, which is normal. Like it was 88, 89 the last couple of years. His max exit velocity right now has been 113.01, and so you're thinking, okay, wow, that really stands out. It gets better. His hard hit contact, which was been around 37, 39% is at 51%. 51%.
Ah,
jeez.
You know,
So,
yeah.
Swing hard in case you hit it.
There you go. And his sweet spot percentage has jumped from 23.7 last year to 45%. So he's scoring up the ball nicely. His BA, by the way, is 291. His actual batting average is 281. He's got 12 home runs. It is remarkable. And you almost thought he was on the verge of a breakout, only because of his offensive prowess is why I wanted him. But I mean, we saw some glimpses last year and a little bit of 2019 what he's capable of. But yeah, that's really good in keeping the Cardinals kind of entertaining right now. And so my bad this week involves Robbie Grossman. So I mean, yes, he did have the walk-off home run, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was really a good moment to have right there. But since May 22nd, his last 10 games, he's put up a slash line of 158, 277, 352 with an OPS of 619. And he's got the 2 home runs and he's got the 7 walks, but I think it was somebody on Twitter pointed out his stats, and I just thought about it. I looked into it. I'm like, wow, yeah, no one is really discussing Robbie Grossman's struggles right now. And I mean, the Tigers' offense, like I said, it's either what you guys mentioned earlier, it's really hit and miss. And so if his bat was going a little bit, that would help out tremendously. And my ugly is simply what is going on right now with the Major League Baseball and renewing their efforts to crack down on pitchers using foreign substances. So according to John Heyman from the MLB Network, the supposed crackdown comes after Thursday's owners meeting, which the evidence that was suggested that was with ball doctoring was very prevalent throughout the league. A statement that, if true, could help explain the lowest batting average strikeout rate in league history, which is something you guys mentioned earlier. It started with some of the instances they mentioned on this article too. Was on May 26th, umpire Joe West confiscated the hat of Cardinal reliever Gianni Belleos based on it was a suspicion it was coated with a foreign substance, but he wasn't suspended. And then the response to that whole incident, Josh Donaldson had a really weird comment saying that he had a whole series of tweets saying, quote, he has an entire catalog of video pitchers cheating. Donaldson hints that he's going to release it, though he offers no further details, which kind of like sounds like to me some sort of like black mail thing, or I don't know what's going on with that, but it just sounded really kind of tabloidish in a way. Like, I'm going to tell on you. Oh, watch out. Ooh, yeah, I'm telling.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. I didn't hear about that. Donaldson. I got a whole archive of videos, pitchers cheating. No, I kept coming up with jokes about guys not this worried about sticky stuff on their hands since whenever. But I was going with like the Pam Anderson tape, but
no, but I just think about like the fact that here, you have Trevor Bauer talking about using Coke, and he's been very open about it, and nothing was said before.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Coca-Cola. Yeah, no, that's what I said. Coke, not cocaine, not nose candy, not Pedro Guerrero or
Bolivian Mauchi Parda.
Yeah, none of the white stuff. I'm talking about like Coca-Cola mixing it with sticky stuff, but. It goes back to the days of Gaylord Perry. It goes back years. And so I find it funny. I think it's because the era of social media magnifies things a lot. And so it makes things a lot worse than what it is. And look, if there's doctoring the ball, look at the steroid era. It finally started cracking down on that. So you're going to telling me that, look, I know baseball's kind of an ugly thing right now with the way the strikeout numbers are. And Don Mattingly's right to a certain degree. I mean, if you look at the White Sox player, the Yasmiel Mercedes' numbers.
Oh, you mean Mercedes? Yeah.
Yeah, those numbers are really hideous. But at the same time, I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, it's interesting. I think they've been putting stuff on their hands for years. That's nothing new. I think what we're seeing this year, I've seen speculation that lighter ball is leading to a lot more spin on breaking stuff coming right out of the hand with more spin immediately. Mm-hmm. So I think they did some voodoo with the ball that they might regret right now, because I think they had some unintended consequences, i.e. more outs, less homers, and wicked breaking stuff.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens and how they enforce it. They were talking about not, trying not to suspend players, just trying to confiscate gear. But I don't know, man. Like, I just picture games in the coming months being like this never-ending parade of people losing gear, like some sort of weird strip poker baseball mashup. Like, oh no, you got to lose your cleats. You get you need a new belt. Just I don't know.
The kind of breaking news came in, and Dan Hasty just tweeted this out that please say a prayer for Durham Bulls pitcher Tyler Zambrano, who took a line drive off the head. And
they suspended the game, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't see it, but that's brutal.
Yeah, I don't want to see it. There's certain things, like sometimes when I see something like that, like the sound. I remember when Bryce Flory pitched for the Tigers. I think it was like 97. I don't know if you remember that, guys, or not, but against Cleveland, he took one right off the face. It was one of the, like, that sound. It was just, it's unsettling. And so hopefully send out some good vibes and thoughts, and out to, if you pray or not, whatever your preferences, send out some good thoughts to Tyler Zambrano, the Durham's Bulls pitcher, who's, I think that's Tampa Bay affiliate. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people. I never want to see those videos of guys like breaking their legs.
Yeah.
I don't care what sport it is. Like, I don't want to see that. And I'm trying to remember, was it 2018 or 2019 when we were at a Tigers game and saw one of their pitchers take a ball to the head, and I'm forgetting. I think it must have been 2018 when we went with the crew, and he was one of those guys. It was he was like a draft pick in the teens who was just kind of popped up and making his appearances, and that was, I think, the last MLB game he pitched in. Unfortunately, I think that was the last pitch he threw.
Oh, jeez.
A
farewell.
Well, I'll have to look. I'm looking at for who was it? Let's see. Not Josh Smoker. No. So I'm going through these. Who was that?
Oh, Josh Smoker.
Yeah, that was some of these names you forget about.
Totally forgot about him.
Wasn't Warwick Soppold or Johnny Barbado or Zach Reiniger? Would it have been 2017?
Johnny Barbado.
That was a former Pirate too, wasn't he?
God,
it was.
Sounds like a porn star. Barbado.
Miles J. Jeff Farrell. It was Jeff Farrell.
Oh man, that's right.
Remember him.
Former Mudhen farmhand.
Let's see. Yeah, 2017. I feel like it was a game against the Diamondbacks, or maybe not. I don't know. We went to a couple games, and I just remember him. We caught him taking a liner. Yeah, in any event, it's super scary, and you always worry about that. And I don't know how pitchers have that happen to them and then come right back. I still remember the one World Series game. I think it was when Doug Fister took a fastball off his, or a liner off his head, and he was fine. And it was almost like it glanced off his head and like it kept going deep into center field. So it like kept most of his momentum, but it's still just like, it's so scary.
Oh, it's not. I mean, you think about that Mike Coolbaugh who got killed, the third base coach in the minors.
Oh God. Yeah. He got it right in his neck, right?
Nasty.
Yeah. The brother of our hitting coach.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you feel like eventually it seems like an inevitability that one of these 120 mile an hour Giancarlo Stanton, missiles is going to hit a guy in the wrong spot. And it's, I don't know, I guess it's the risks you take when you're pitching from, 58 feet away.
Yep.
Or I guess it's more like 54 if you're down the mountain. But yeah, shout out to that young man.
They're just that's just, they were, somebody sent me the tweet that they like, just some people they carried him out on a stretcher. So let's carry the show on at a better note though. Do you have any questions this week, Chris?
I saw 3. We got one from Bengal BJ, which I actually asked 2, which is where is Bryant Packard? He hasn't played in a week, but also not on the injured list. And also Myers, I seen Dave Myers seems athletic. Does the former pitcher have a future as a hitter? So we saw Bryant Packard yesterday in the dugout. I went down there. I was a little bit too far away to try to talk to him, or talk to the guys in the dugout, and he was in the middle of the dugout in a hoodie all game, but he had his batting gloves on and was holding a bat the entire game. So I think that he wants to be out there hitting, just for whatever reason. I think there probably is some sort of nagging injury there that they're keeping him out just so it doesn't get worse. As far as Dane Myers, it's interesting. He was a good two-way player in college for Rice. I want to say he hit like 350 with 9 home runs as a junior.
Yep.
He may have been draftable in the top 10 rounds as a hitter, but I hesitate to say that he's an actual prospect at this point. I think he's 24 or 25. And the way the organization has been moving around, they moved him from Lakeland to Erie, and we're like, oh, that's interesting. And then they move him back down to West Michigan. They're treating him like an organizational player, basically. They send him wherever they need him. But he does, he looked surprisingly athletic to me. Like, he was an infielder in college, but he was playing right field when we were out there, and he made a nice running catch. And he's very muscular. So, I wouldn't put it past him. It's just that transition seems to be a lot harder than the opposite one, where you're a position player and you go become a pitcher. You go and you could be Nick Ramirez or Israel De La Cruz or Zach Shepard or anybody like that. But kudos to him for trying it, and he's been fairly successful. I don't know what his season numbers are, but yeah, he looks okay. I don't know, Raj, did you see anything out of Dane Myers that you thought no noteworthy?
I thought he bulked up a little bit. He making that transition to pitcher to outfielder position player, you're right, is usually that works out better than the opposite way around. Like Anthony Goes is still kicking around in the minor leagues right now as a pitcher, but it's also because he's left-handed, and left-handers always tend to get more chances. But you know what? He might be just an org dude, but I think he's shown enough athleticism a little bit, and showed a pop. That home run tonight was a moon shot. And but as far as whether he's going to be maybe just right now, I projected maybe just as an organizational guy. Unless he had a home run in Double-A, which is that's not hard. That's not easy to do. But again, it just seems like with the organizations, what they're trying to tell you. At least they're doing something with him. But right now, I'm just going to say organizational guy for now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that was it, pretty much, right? Was it? Or we another question? We
have one from Jeffrey Danelli 1. He said, "Do you have any reports/comments on Toledo pitcher Logan Shore?"
Now, last night.
Now, what's that?
He pitched a heck of a game last night.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting guy. Is remember they got him from Oakland in the Mike Fiers deal, I believe, and he was I'm sure you remember him at Florida as he was like their Friday night starter, wasn't he? He was just lights out.
He was definitely a Friday night guy, 100%.
So he's but yeah, and he was a Friday night starter despite the guys pitching, on Saturday and Sunday had better stuff, and I think got drafted higher than him. But he's got that kind of moxie.
And Puck was one of them.
Yeah, and I think Dane Dunning was even. I don't remember, but yeah, his stuff is a little bit pedestrian. He's got an above average to plus changeup, which is nice. And his fastball, I think in spring camp or whatever, spring training, he was like 92, 94 with his fastball, which will play. But he doesn't have much of a breaking ball, as I recall. So that makes it a little bit tough for you to be a starter. But it would not shock me if down the stretch, it's always tough to manage the 40-man. Yeah. But if we see some more guys hitting the 60-day IL or trades or something like that, it wouldn't shock me at all to see him come up and be kind of a swingman for the Tigers. Like I said, I don't think there's a ton of upside there, but he's kind of I don't know, you want to say like a right-handed Tyler Alexander or something like that, a guy who could just kind of carve out a role as a do-anything guy for you and not get completely destroyed. But we'll see. I see that. So
my thing with him is I was umpiring a game behind the mound this year because we only had one umpire, and this kid from Sheraton, Iowa, his name is Logan Shore.
Oh, really?
And I tell him, hey, the Detroit Tigers got a guy named Logan Shore. And he didn't think that was as cool as I did.
It's funny.
What are you going to do?
that is one of the just as an aside, one of the funny things that you see sometimes in when we're like, digging deep into the drafts, you find these players like there's a top 100 prospect this year named Max Muncy.
Oh, yeah.
He's going by Maxwell Muncy, I guess, in some capacity, so you don't get confused with the other guy. But there was a Brennan Malone and a Brendan Malone, or what? There was a Brennan Malone and Brennan Milone, like Malone and Milone. It's like, oh, come on, guys, cut it out. Parents would stop it. And then there's a kid. This might not mean anything to anybody who doesn't have young kids, but there's a Canadian. I think his name's Elijah Hamill. He's an outfielder. I think he's going to Utah. Who was a voice on Paw Patrol when he was younger. He was a voice of Ryder, the main human boy on the show Paw Patrol. And it's like, well, that's fun.
That is fun.
But in any event, and then the one last question we had.
The only thing I was going to say about Logan Shore is
sorry, Raj.
No, that's okay. The only thing I was going to say, maybe if he picks up he has been picking up his K rate a little bit, but I like to think that maybe he might be a good long reliever. But I don't know, as a starter, maybe as a spot starter, like a fifth guy in rotation.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't expect, like I was saying, a swing man, a guy who might be a bulk reliever, might start a game and go 2 innings, something like that. But like I say, it wouldn't shock me at all if we see him in the majors this year. And then maybe not again. I don't know. It's tough, but he's on that fringe. And then let's see. The other question, unless we got another one. No, we did not. The other question we had was from AB Craig. Said, which will be greater, the number of no hitters in the majors this year, or the number of home runs hit by Miguel Cabrera this year?
Mm-hmm. Well, a few weeks ago, Chris, you and I, one day Raj was gone. We talked about would Cabrera have more homers or doubles, or would he get to double-digit doubles this year? Would he get to 10? So I don't know if he will. I think it's still pretty questionable. He may end up with more. There could be more no hitters than doubles for sure. Home runs, he might get on a little bit of a home run bender.
Let's see.
For a couple weeks, but
he has 2 doubles right now.
Yeah.
So and that one just came last week when he was bases loaded double. It's tough. Hitting 193. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I still feel like he's capable, like we saw at the end of last year. He's capable of putting together that string. If he's feeling right, he still has the not innate, but the great hitting ability that he always had. It's just, his body doesn't work anymore, but maybe there'll be a week or two when his body's working right and he can put some things together. But at this point, I guess you have to take the no hitters over the home runs, unfortunately.
Well, are we going to get the 10 no hitters? I mean, the way the offense environment is right now, the hitting environment in MLB, I don't see why they don't get to 10.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for one of the really elite pitchers to do it. That's what's been kind of weird about this year is I mean, Kluber was the closest, I think, but he's not the guy he once was.
Right.
Unless there's somebody I'm missing, but you got what John Means, you've got Joe Musgrove, who's a pretty good pitcher, but not. Turnbull. Who else? Who else we missing here? Oh, Rodon threw one, didn't he? Yeah. And he's got pretty dynamic stuff, but that's a cool story, but not necessarily like I'm talking like Garrett Cole. You'd think he'd throw a no hitter every other start, or Max Scherzer.
Wade Miley has one this year.
Yeah, Wade Miley. Yeah, it's like this weird group of random guys who got a no hitter this year. I remember the 1991 season, I think it was, when there were 7 no hitters and it was a huge deal. And I think Nolan Ryan got his 7th that year. And I'm trying to remember, but I don't remember. I feel like there was a combined no hitter that year. And did Dave Stewart throw one?
Yeah, and he won. Yeah.
For the Blue Jays.
I thought it was
the A's.
Yep.
Was it still the A's then? Okay.
Yeah.
But I can't remember who else threw him that year.
I think it was against Toronto though.
Maybe it was.
Yeah. Wait, you said 91, Chris?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now to see, because I remember that being a big. This is the height of my card collecting days, and so
I know there's a Brewer pitcher right around that. I think it might have been 89 though. The only Brewer.
Navarro.
Navarro. I know that the Braves. You said the Braves combined for one, right?
I don't remember. I just thought there was one combined. So it looks like Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, that was and Dennis Martinez. That's right. Dennis Martinez threw one. That's right. What it was.
That was a perfect game, wasn't it?
That was the only perfect game. Yeah.
Yeah. So that year we got Nolan Ryan, Tommy Green for the Phillies.
Wow.
I remember him. And then there was a combined one for the Orioles. Bob Milwaukee, Mike Flanagan, Mark Williamson, and Greg Olson. The Dennis Martinez perfect game. Wilson Alvarez for the White Sox.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that was in like his second or third career start. Brett Saberhagen threw one that year.
You know what? I might no hitters confused because it was for Fernando and Stewart threw it in the same day in 1990.
There you go. Yeah. So, and Nolan Ryan went through one in 1992. So maybe that was, well, hold on. So how many would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? There were 7 in 1990 and 7 in 1991.
Actually, there's more than that in 1991. There's 1, 2. Let's see. Hold on a second. There's wait. Hold on, because it's the same game. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're right. No, you're right. I'm sorry. The way they 7. Yeah.
7 is the modern record or the record. Yeah. So the 1990. So that makes more sense to me because I was collecting cards a lot in 91 rather than 92. So the 1990 no hitters were Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan, Mark Langston, and Mike Witt, Dave Stewart, Fernando Valenzuela, Terry Mulholland, and Dave Steve finally got one.
Yeah, after like 5 attempts or so, and then
those are some big name pitchers right there.
Yeah. I mean that's a huge year, and then the next year you got Bob Milwaukee and then Kent Merker, Mark Wohlers, and Alejandro Pena.
Yeah, and then 1992 was Kevin Gross.
Yeah,
and then the 1993 one's gonna be will crack you up for Tiger fans out there. Darryl Kyle, Jim Abbott for the Yankees, and Chris Bosio for Seattle.
Chris Bosio. There we go.
Yeah. And then it's just one of those things where in that 1994, Scott Erickson actually threw a no-hitter. Oh
yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers was a perfect game against California when they were the Angels or the California Angels at the time. And then Ramon Martinez actually pitched one in 1995. So that's when you knew the steroid era was kind of kicking in. The no-hitters got less and less.
Al Leiter.
Al Leiter, Gooden, and Nomo in 1996. And let's see, my senior year, 1999. Eric Milton. Wow, that's a name I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, Eric Milton. I was living in Minneapolis when that happened. It was a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
They had to get out of the stadium so the Gophers could play there that night. So they played the game at like 10 in the morning.
Oh, there you go.
And there was like 3,000 people or less. No, there's like 300 people in the stands. It was because the Twins are out of it. And it was the dead crowd. And all of a sudden, Eric Milton comes out of nowhere. All the players are still asleep, and he threw a no-hitter.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I remember some of these. This one has to be the worst no-hitter of all time. June 11, 2003. The Astros used 6 pitchers with Brad Ausmus catching, Roy Oswalt for an inning, Pete Monroe for 2 2/3, Kirk Sarlos for 1 1/3, Brad Lidge for 2 innings, Octavio Dotel for an inning, and Billy Wagner for an inning.
Nice.
And then we get into some more familiar names there in the middle. Anibal Sanchez, Justin Verlander.
Yeah, that's when you could tell when the tide of the war was changing on that. So, but yeah,
Edwin Jackson with 8 walks, right? Didn't he have 8 walks?
Yeah.
Some ugly names.
Oh, here's another contender for the worst no-hitter. Kevin Millwood, Charlie Furbush, Stephen Pryor, Lucas Lutke, Brandon League, and Tom Wilhelmsen in a 1-0 game against the Dodgers. Caught by Jesus Montero.
Never heard half those guys. I know I've heard Millwood, but the rest of that was that when Millwood was in Atlanta, right?
No, Charlie Furbush.
This is Seattle.
Tiger legend.
Oh wow. Yeah. So there's
anyway. Yeah.
That's
sorry.
No, it's okay. That's well worth the investment of time. But it's,
aside.
At this point, I'm not going to be one of those people that also thinks that Cabrera should move down the order because who are you going to put up there? Nobody.
No.
I mean, Scope has been hitting well lately, but I don't know what he did tonight. I didn't.
Also, I do want to end the show. I did want to end the show on a little bit of a mini rant, and
all right,
something that I've been getting in the last couple of years with a certain person out there that's just like this back and forth about whether or not Jeimer Candelario is a good player. And I'm just gonna say this: he's a good player. He's not Al Kaline. No one ever says that. But if the Tigers trade him, I'm going to give this question out to the audience. This is a homework assignment for everybody listening, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you trade Jeimer Candelario, who are you going to replace him? And if you're a Tigers fan and you see him that they trade everybody they can trade, are you going to actually go watch a game? I know it's post-COVID and people want to go outside, and I get it. But if you're a Tigers fan and you live in the area and you saw that they traded Candelario and other things and other players like Matt Boyd or Michael Fulmer, like players that they have, like, for example, like Spencer Turnbull, players that they have control over for a little while. Would you go to a game if they made a trade? Honestly, think about that. I want if please respond to us at tigerssrd@gmail.com. If you're listening to the podcast, write down this question. Would you go to a Tigers game if they traded Jeimer Candelario and a couple of other players that are under club control? Because I'm sick and tired of this narrative that we have to trade everybody. There's certain players you have to. I get it. Like somebody was giving you crap about your trade idea for Fulmer, but I think they were just spamming you. It was just ridiculous, Chris. I can read an article.
Did I see that? I don't know.
No,
if I saw that.
No. I'll show it to you a little later.
You've been gatekeeping for me. Thank you.
No, I just look at the comment section every time I check to see if there's any comments on Facebook and Twitter and on the comment section. But I'm just, if he's tradable, he's tradable. No one said he's. Who are you going to replace him with? Seriously, who are you going to replace him with? And it doesn't matter. Tiger fans are going to come out there. No, Tiger fan. I mean, to me, you're telling people that Tiger fans are stupid. They're just going to go out there and witness any piece of crap that's going to go out there. No, come on.
Yeah. Well, I guess my thing is on that is tell me who they're getting for them.
Yeah,
and until you know that, I'm hesitant to go one way or the other. I think everybody has a price, a nice fair price. And if they traded Jeimer Candelario, are you getting a top 100 prospect? Are you getting somebody that's, from 80 to 100 back?
I mean, that's basically who Candelario was when you got him. It's
but if you got something better than that, okay, I can be talked into it. But I think some of the criticism I've seen of Candelario that he's getting expensive, and I don't think he's going to be expensive. He's going to be he's going to get paid like a league average regular, and I think that if they ever put together a contending lineup, he's a guy who should bat 6th or 7th on a contending team. He's stretched batting 3rd and 2nd for the Tigers right now. Okay, but when they get to where they want to go, hopefully, if he's still around and he's batting 6th, okay, now that's a pretty good player. But is he marketable? I just don't think he's that marketable right now. I don't think there's going to be that big of a return for him.
And we talked. It's not something that teams go and seek out as a league average third baseman with average power. Like that's just not what teams look for. Now, if somebody has an injury and then there's nobody they can replace, then maybe. But no, I agree with you that there's always a price. If somebody wants to give you a bunch of interesting high upside prospects for Candelario, I guess. But I don't know. Like at some point, he's an average major leaguer. That's really hard to get. That's hard to find. And I remember the days when the Tigers actually used to pay even average major leaguers. They go, you know what? We'll sign Nate Robertson to a 4-year deal. Yeah. And he's not great, but he's gonna fill out our rotation for a few more years, and we can count on him. And that's like the best thing about Candelario is you can count on him to be a quality at bat. He's going to come up with some hits. He'll hit the occasional home run. He normally plays good defense. His metrics this year aren't great there, but I think he's got the tools to be a good defender. I think there's just some random stuff going on there, but yeah. So I don't know. I definitely would be curious to hear listeners' comments and what they think about that.
Well, I think there's 4 guys I would trade before I got to him, just because I think there would be a better return possibly, because everybody's pitching.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's where my problem is that the returns that he's done on those trades have not been very well. So you have somebody that you get a return on for the first time in your tenure, because even though the jury's still out on Willie Castro, I mean, he had an error tonight, but I mean, he made up for it for the solo shot. But it's just, to me, it's like you're telling the fans are stupid. You're saying the fans are going to just accept whatever crap that's going to happen. Well, and I don't think the fans are that stupid. I just think it's, what are you going to get back for him? You're right, Uber. What are you going to get back for him? But at the same time, don't accept mediocrity. Don't accept this. You know what I mean? Like we're not Lions fans. I mean, sorry for anybody with Lions fans out there. Lions people go out there for the Lions no matter what. So, just saying. Yeah. So, All right. On that note, thank you for listening to Tigers SRD here at MotorCityBengals.com. Don't forget to check out all our draft coverage. We got Friday Sleepers coming out tomorrow. I'm going to be looking at every Friday. Chris gave me a list of pitchers, and I'm going to accept my assignment and give you some guys that will potentially come up in the draft, maybe on the Tigers draft board at some point. Who knows? Or just is somebody that you might be looking out for. And look at our website. We have the draft profile for Jordan Lawler and
Marcelo Mayer. You did today.
Yeah, Marcelo Mayer. We did today. Yep.
You've got a couple coming up too. I think what you're doing, Rocker and
House and Rocker.
Yeah.
Rock the
House.
Rock the House. And we also got one coming out tomorrow on Joe did one too.
Yeah, Jackson Job.
Yeah, that's going to be coming out tomorrow as well. I should schedule that before I go to bed.
That's an interesting name, boys. I'll tell you.
He keeps rising up. There's a lot of boards that have that on there. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so also check out our mock draft too over at MotorCityBengals.com, and we'll put the link in there. Like I said, there's a lot of links that'll be on the podcast going forward. What's so funny, Chris?
Oh, just the idea. We did that mock, and so the way we split it up amongst the five of us, and I said I think afterward, I said, I think all three of us, we made 3 Tigers picks. At Youp's suggestion, we went to 40 so we could get the 3 Tigers picks in there. And we made 3 Tigers picks, 3 different people, and they all seemed reasonable. But afterward, we're like, oh, man, I don't like that haul at all. Like, I would not be happy with this draft. So, I don't know. You feel free to check it out and tell us what you think.
Yeah. I it's just because, like, to me, it was like there's more debate about, like, the anticipation of the picks as we're doing them, too.
Yeah.
Like you're calling out Joe, like, hey Joe, see that you're waiting a long time here to pick. What's going on? Yeah. Like he would type it out. You saw him type it in, type it out. So
that was fun. Though. I really enjoyed that. That was a good time.
Yeah, and I planning on finishing up the draft month with another one that we might do it the same way. We might switch it up a little bit to something that we did kind of internally last year with Raj and I did, where we basically same idea. Basically, we pick the top 40 and then we keep track during the actual draft, and whoever ends up with the highest score, basically or lowest score, I guess is what it would be, that the most players who go lower in the draft or whatever. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to. We're also going to be, there's a couple of things we're going to go on in the hopper with even our board, but we'll get to that another day. So until then, see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. And yeah, next week we'll be actually on the road in Toledo. Possibly, yeah, we still have to get the details figured out with Chip and Jake, but yeah, we'll definitely be we'll be doing a road show technically next week. So more details on that and more. Have a good week, everybody. And it's freezing, so give me a second here. You gotta be kidding me. All right, come on. Here we go. Okay, sorry. Let's see. Sorry.
Oh, jeez.
What's the matter?
I'm just reading now that the details about Tyler Zombro shaking uncontrollably.